I said, well, Pastor, I said, you got to realize that David, even though he was a king, he wasn't made a king in the palace. He was made a king in a cave,
Yes.
right? So I say all that to say that no matter what anybody from your audience is facing, no matter what challenges they're going through, no matter what they think unsurmountable mountains in front of them, whether they don't know their identity, they're not congruent with themselves or whatever that is,
Yeah.
if you will just surrender and shift, it'll all be okay.
That is so dynamic. There are so many places I want to jump in. Specifically, most recently, I was walking through a 7-day water fast. I'd never done anything longer than a 3-day. And prior to that 3-day, I'd never done anything longer than 24 hours. So all this to say, like, I'm not saying it to boast, but wow, it was difficult. But I was circling some really big prayers. And the entire week I was reading about King David and King Saul, and specifically, obviously, Saul before he was King David, and how he treated him, and how ultimately the ending heart posture that David had, no matter if Saul was in pursuit of killing him, whether he was in pursuit of stealing from him, destroying anything that he had, or even when he was asking him to do something of his good nature, when he was like, hey, come play for me, come share your heart with me while I go through this mental process. He did it with such honor. And there was such an element of honor that fast led me to a really big business decision of letting go of a partnership and realizing that in that partnership release, I had to just honor, because there was a lot of elements and opportunity that I could have just thrown that person under the bus, waved their dirty laundry, right? And the Lord was like, no, you're still going to make the decision that you're circling, that you already know the answer to. I appreciate your fasting. But let me teach you something. And so I love that you brought that up, because what I saw you and how I saw you activate from the first time I ever met you was through a place of just honor. And that is such a tactic. I mentioned this even prior to us getting on, that like, I don't think men are good at. And I think that that's something that I love to see my husband operate in. He's so humble. And yet there's also a need for humility sometimes, that we're always like, babe, I love you looking in the mirror, but put your shirt on, you know,
Come on,
you
flex
work
it.
hard for it, let's go. But really, I love to hear you talk about surrender. I know a lot of 8-figure, 9-figure earners. And I say that it's like one of those things on Clubhouse. We know 14-figure earners. And it's not that.
I'm a billionaire.
Yeah, like what does that even mean? But I've had this specific conversation of, I know I need to surrender and I don't know how. So it's in one thing if God knocks you off your feet. He did this to me. I literally got the rug swept out from under me. But how do you think someone who is seemingly not to that place, how do they surrender and get to that place of like, God, I just want you to lead my life, even if they don't really know him?
Oh my gosh, I think you just actually answered the question. So I believe there's two ways in which we learn.
Yeah.
By the experience of other people, or by that in which we experience.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's true.
So you have a choice of surrendering your life. And if you surrender your life, you will go through a refining process, which is great. It won't feel necessarily great all the time, but the end result is very, very beautiful. So I say that to say that in the grand scheme of things, that choice of, am I going to surrender of my own accord? Or in my case, you're going to be so stubborn, so strong-willed that you refuse to listen, that you're going to be literally taking the legs taken out from under you, so I can get your heart to a place I can pour into it.
Yeah.
You see, part of this human existence is there's a destiny, I believe, that's created inside of each one of us. That destiny can be a variety of different things. It could be becoming the mother or the father of the future president of the United States that we all actually like, right? It could be a musician that changes the world through a harp, right? It could be, a business owner. But there's all these different levels. It doesn't have to be big and gargantuan and whatever.
For sure.
Some people were called to serve at scale. But you'll find that the people that were called to serve at scale, once they were forced to humble, that was the only time they've ever had to do it. So T.D. Jakes says there's new levels and new devils. I've gone through at least 4 humblings that I'm aware of at different levels since the litter box moment and the whole deal. I asked God politely last time. I said, Lord, I hope that's the last one. I feel like I'm in a good place. Like, but I, at the same time, I trust him enough that if he decides to humble me again for whatever reason, or he's trying to get something out of me, or he's trying to prune me, it's only because he's trying to grow me. He doesn't prune stuff he's not trying to grow. By accepting that, when I face adversity, I see it as a lesson to be used rather than something to be avoided or whatever. So circle all that back to the place of your heart. Is this heart meaning your soul, your consciousness, your resonance, your soul, has really a choice. I either choose God in faith or I choose not God in faith.
Yeah.
Okay. If you choose God in faith, no matter what happens to you or through you or around you or whatever, it's going to work out. Okay. If you avoid God altogether and you try to go through that same thing, you're going to find yourself empty, depleted, discouraged, and doubtful. Okay. That is the essence of faith. So I would say, rather than being forced to humble yourself, do exactly what you first said when you first asked the question, which is, Lord, I don't know if this is the right thing. I don't. Just be honest.
Yeah, it's good.
Like God knows your heart already.
Yeah.
Like for some reason, he does like it when we realize it and we have enough self-awareness to say, hey, I know I'm a knucklehead.
Yep.
And he says, it took you a while, kid.
Yeah, totally.
You know? But he also made me with all those tenacity pieces and stuff like that, right? So you mentioned that humble piece. So one of the things that I've been constantly doing in my prayer and meditation time specifically is I've been asking God to give me healthy masculinity. Okay.
Good. That's cool that I brought
healthy
that
masculinity
up. This
means
is only
I
like
can
the
go to
third
war.
time we've chatted, y'all, by the way. So this is good that I noted this and it's a part of his prayer life. Let's go.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's like help make me healthy, wealthy, and wise, and a steward of the Most High. I mean, it's that simple. But at the same time, this healthy masculinity means if I need to pick up a shield and grab a sword and go to war, I can do it. But at the same time, if I'm with my loved ones and they need encouragement and compassion and mercy, and then I do that.
Yeah.
The greatest living example of healthy masculinity was done by the man of the name of Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Okay, he would push Peter. He would, dude, come on now. I done told you once, right? But he would also, Peter denies him 3 times, and Jesus says, Peter, do you love me?
Yeah.
Peter, do you love me? Peter, do you love me? You know what I'm saying? So it's like, to me, every man should be on a journey of healthy masculinity, and every female should be on a journey for healthy femininity. Yeah. And as of that, you have healthy polarity, right? Healthy polarity breeds wholeness. Wholeness does things in the world. You can only get to those places by humbling yourself before you're forced to be humbled.
Wow. That's like a really big political conversation. If you want to look at it through that lens, I'm like, man,
please
you guys,
don't. That's not my heart.
But I understand that if people had this heart and understood the elements of what you're saying on like the truest true, like the depth of it, a lot of the problems that we're facing and we're seeing from identity issues is it wouldn't be there. It really wouldn't. And so it goes back to conversations that we talked about at the beginning, which is that ego, that pride, no pun intended. So it's beautiful, and something that I think if more men in the and women, this is not just a men thing. I think sometimes women can get into the place of owning masculinity so much because they're trying to be heard, or they're trying to be in control, or they're trying to be whatever that looks like, whether it's in marriage or business, that it's, if we embrace who we are and we understand that because of whose we are, then we operate in that sense of alignment and abundance where there's no competition even in that space. It's more just celebrating one another.
It's eliminating the process of division, because the reality is, as human beings, we go in and out of masculine and feminine energy all the time.
For sure.
Males and females. Okay.
For sure.
So, for example, I'm in a season of healthy singleness. Solitude, it's chosen. This is. I take 6-8 months of myself. God, what are you trying to do through me? What do you want to work with me on? And really open myself up to that. I'm not saying that I do that every day, meaning it's like conscious, but it is something that I try to focus on.
Yeah.
I've realized that take some of the most I'll call it powerful or authoritative women that I'm aware of. Okay. Especially in the workplace, or building businesses or doing careers. They have to go out and kill it, bring it home on their own accord. Okay. They're having to operate in what was considered more of a masculine energy, specifically because it's the hunter-gatherer, warrior type mentality.
Yep.
I also know that in closeness and proximity with those same folks, that they would come back and say, I really don't like doing it like this. Whereas a man operating healthy masculinity can go out and kill it and do all that kind of stuff. But when they come home, they want to take their armor off.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So it's just getting to the place where everybody's operating a congruent alignment, but you can't find congruent alignment with people until you can find congruent alignment with self. And you can't get congruent alignment with self until you have the vertical integration consistently and continually, whether it's prayer, gratitude walks, meditation. You have to have your process of connecting with God deeply at a very relational level. I know that when I get to heaven, I do not want to have Jesus say, well, you know, I know you cast out demons, and I know you did good stuff. I know you took care of things, but I never knew you.
Yep.
Right. So I want to make sure that people stay in contact with that relationship more than that spirit of religion and criticism and stuff like that. Because Jesus also said that what you judge others will be held, you know, you'll be judged by the same measure. So I don't know about you guys. I don't want to be hurling spears at anybody.
No, definitely
Because
not.
I don't want people hurling spears at me.